Howdy. I just stumbled across this very interesting article from Chicago News. Scientists find link between photosynthesis and fifth state of matter. And I also want to point out that they use a thunderbird as a logo. And as we all know, thunderbirds are electrical in nature. But anyway, let's go into that. The University of Chicago study found links at the atomic level between photosynthesis and excitation of condensates, a strange state of physics that allows energy to flow frictionlessly through a material. No, it's not strange, because this is how nature works. The finding is scientifically intriguing and may suggest new ways to think about designing electronics, the author said. 2nd May of 2023. New Chicago scientists hope islands of excitation condensation may point way to new discoveries. Inside the lab, scientists marvel at a strange state that forms when they cool down atoms to nearly absolute zero. Outside their window, trees gather sunlight and turn them into new leaves. The two seem unrelated, but a new study from the University of Chicago suggests that these processes aren't so different as they might appear on the surface. The study, published in PRX Energy on April 28, found links at the atomic level between photosynthesis and excitation condensates, a strange state of physics that allows energy to flow frictionlessly through a material. The finding is scientifically intriguing and may suggest new ways to think about designing electronics, the author said. As far as they know, these areas have never been connected before. Yes, as far as they know. Some probably know different. So we found this very compelling and exciting, said study co-author Professor David Mazziotti. Mazziotti's lab specializes in modeling the complicated interactions of atoms and molecules as they display interesting properties. There is no way to see these interactions with the naked eye, so computer modeling can give scientists a window into why the behavior happens and can also provide a foundation for designing future technology, or understand humans. In particular, Mazziotti and study co-authors Anna Schouten and Lee Ann Sager-Smith have been modeling what happens at the molecular level when photosynthesis occurs. When a photon from the sun strikes a leaf, it sparks a change in a specially designed molecule. The energy knocks loose an electron. The electron and the hole where it once was can now travel around the leaf, carrying the energy of the sun to another area where it triggers a chemical reaction to make sugars for the plant. All chemical reactions are electrical in nature. Together, that traveling electron and hole pair is referred to as an excitation. When the team took a bird's eye view and modeled how multiple excitations move around, they noticed something odd. They saw patterns in the paths of the excitations that looked remarkably familiar. In fact, it looked very much like the behavior in a material that is known as a Bose-Einstein condensate, sometimes known as the fifth state of matter. In this material, excitations can link up into the same quantum state. Kind of like a set of bells are ringing perfectly in tune. This allows energy to move around the material with zero friction. These sorts of strange behaviors intrigue scientists because they can be the seeds for remarkable technology. For example, a similar state called superconductivity is the basis for MRI machines. Yeah, it's always interesting to read these kind of things when scientists, professors, and other people involved call some natural process odd. They saw patterns in the past of the excitations that looked remarkably familiar. According to the models created by Schouten, Sager-Smith, and Mazziotti, the excisions in a leaf can sometimes link up in ways similar to excisions condensate behavior. This was a huge surprise. Excision condensates have only been seen when the material is cooled down significantly below room temperature. It'd be kind of like seeing ice cubes forming in a cup of hot coffee. Photosynthesis, so probably they are missing something very important in the whole picture. But anyway, photosynthetic light harvesting is taking place in a system that is at room temperature, and what's more, its structure is disordered. Its structure is disordered, very unlike the pristine crystallized materials and cold temperatures that you use to make excision condensates, explained Schouten. This effect isn't total, it's more akin to islands of condensates forming, the scientist said. But that's still enough to enhance energy transfer in the system, said Sager-Smith. In fact, their models suggest it can as much as double the efficiency. This opens up some new possibilities for generating synthetic materials for future technology. Mazziotti said, a perfect ideal excision condensate is sensitive and requires a lot of special conditions. But for realistic applications, it's exciting to see something that boosts efficiency but can happen in ambient conditions. Yes, go outside. Mazziotti said the finding also plays into a broader approach his team has been exploring for a decade. The interactions between atoms and molecules in processes like photosynthesis are incredibly complex, difficult even for a supercomputer to handle. The supercomputer only does what it is programmed for. Just a side note. So those who build a supercomputer cannot expect to something emerge which they haven't been, in a way, planned for. So scientists have traditionally had to simplify their models in order to get a handle of them. But Mazziotti thinks some parts need to be left in. We think local correlation of electrons are essential to capturing how nature actually works. Yes. The study was partially supported by the National Science Foundation's QBBE Quantum Leap Challenge Institute. Yeah. We think local correlation of electrons are essential capturing how nature actually works. Yeah, nature, the universe is electric. In my mountain water paper, I ponder about the importance of water, pH, voltage. The picture is from the presentation Healing is Voltage from Dr. Jerry Tennant. It is understandable that mineral water has healing properties since it is water which comes with a charge. Nature searches for equilibrium, and most people aren't in equilibrium. And I also say here, water itself is a liquid crystal, which I see as important interrelations, these elements of circuitry. You know, I think if it wouldn't be a crystal, it couldn't transfer energy anywhere, in a way. And since all the water within us is easy water, it's in the crystal form, in hexagonal lattice shapes, and it has charge differentials from the outside to the inside of the water drop, or how to ever put it. And the state of matter they are talking probably about plasma. So let's have some professional talking quickly about plasma. He is Michael Clarage, the light of life.
Our blood is constantly emitting light. Blood that had a higher immune response, in this case carrying more neutrophils, had a measurably higher photon count. To our alert biomedical viewers, this is probably the best area to look for new diagnostic techniques, as you can be absolutely certain that the complex rainbow of colors given off by our blood perfectly reflects the ever-changing physical and emotional state of our organism. Diving into individual cells, biophotons travel from mitochondria through microtubules. When I was in graduate school, it was just observed that microtubules were used by cells as highways to actively transport materials to where they were needed in the cell. And now we know that those tubules are also carrying light.
So, there is everywhere light, it's just not visible with our eyes. Let me show you still another thing about how light can affect things. And let's give another expert the word.
In this demonstration, I want to show you a chemical reaction that we will look at in more detail to see how thermodynamics helps us explain in quantitative detail what we observe qualitatively. In this apparatus is a tube that has been filled with a mixture of hydrogen gas, H2, and chlorine gas, Cl2. The tube is further encased in a clear plastic sleeve for reasons that will become clear shortly. These two gases can react with one another to make a new gas, hydrogen chloride. Dissolving hydrogen chloride in water is how hydrochloric acid is made. Just as was true for the thermite reaction, demonstrated in this course's introductory video, reaction of H2 and Cl2 to make HCl is favorable, but it requires an initial kick to get the reaction started. And that kick is the energy required to break the bond between two chlorine atoms in Cl2, which amount of energy is 242 kilojoules per mole. I'm holding here 3 different laser pointers. One lasers red light, one green light, and one blue light. As we'll see in some exercises in an early lecture, the energy of a photon, which is the fundamental unit of light, is determined by its wavelength. The red, green, and blue laser pointers emit wavelengths of 650, 532, and 405 nanometers, respectively. Let's see which, if any, of these wavelengths seems sufficient to break the chlorine-chlorine bond. Here's red shining into the gas mixture. Not much happening. Now, green. Nothing. Now let's try blue. Wow, something must have happened, because that cork shot out of the inner test tube at high speed. Actually, as we'll work out soon, the heat released from the reaction causes a pressure increase of about 29 atmospheres inside the tube, and that either causes the cork to be ejected or the glass tube to break, and that's why we have it shrouded. We'll look at that calculation in a cursory way very soon, simply to illustrate that there is a quantitative way to model it, but we'll cover all of its parts in detail before we reach the end of the course.
And I'm still trying to figure out how my microwave was able to melt the stones and create those very interesting things. Such as this one. It's not that well visible here in the picture, but that's rather blue. Same stone from the underside, and there's obviously some metal. And it cracked the stone, and there is stuff flowing out of it, or has been. And these are the two halves of the stone. This one obviously wasn't in the microwave, and the upper one was. And also this one. This was rather flat, maybe a little bit more than a centimeter thick. It started to glow. And after I have been ready with my experiment, it looked like that. So the original thickness was approximately here, and all that stuff came out of the stone just by heating it in the microwave. And I really tried to figure out about the wavelength of the microwave and all this kind of stuff, which things could be reacting. Like as we just have seen before, in a way, in the same way, like this hydrogen chloride gun with different light. And if we have energy in different wavelengths, which things are reacting to that. But anyway, now scientists are figuring out that there's probably more to the thing that we can see with what they were talking about those excitations within things of the article they were talking about, that superconductivity and those pathways where energy can flow without friction and all these kind of things. It's very interesting. So much still to learn, so much to discover, and so many dots to connect. But anyway, thanks.